What is up, guys? We are at the New York Auto Show, and today we are taking a closer look at the company Karma. These guys are known for making crazy, futuristic electric supercars. They're priced around the price of a Lamborghini Huracan. So I'm very curious about this car. We have the Senior Director of Design. His name is Nick. He's one of the guys who helped design this car. So he's going to walk us through the entire process, the entire car, in-depth review. And I'm curious to pick his brain because I do not know a lot about Karma. This car was just unveiled a couple days prior, so we're getting one of the first in-person looks, and I'm so excited to talk to Nick. Let's get into it. Nick, tell me about this car.
Well, it's a Karma KAVEYA. It's going to be made in California, where we also have a manufacturing facility as well. The headquarters are in Irvine, so it's all American made.
Wow.
It's all electric, front engine proportioned GT, kind of hyper GT really. So it's almost got a hypercar feel more than a supercar feel to it. And I get the look is supposed to be very clean, simple, clean lines. A lot of the trend at the moment, you see a lot of slashes and lines and everything everywhere. It looks very busy, so we really wanted to go back to being very pure. And so you'll notice the body color lower, the all black upper. That kind of gives an illusion that it's even lower than it already is, and it's all very, very low.
I can see the roof line, because it's black, it almost looks like they merged together all the way at the buttress line.
Exactly,
it's
yeah.
Gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
So the idea of that is to kind of get the cabin and pull it back as if it's kind of, you're pulling back a catapult. You've had to let it go. And the interesting thing about this, if you close the doors, is the height point is actually quite far back on the car. So it makes it look like it's even longer, kind of going all the way down. But one of the most unique things about this is that we try to hide things away. And you may not even know about this either from looking at the car, but the rear wing, when you operate the car, when you're going at speed, the rear wing tilts up. But in GT mode, the wings on the sides open out. So this wing here.
So you're saying this
is
separate from that?
Yeah. So when this comes up, these two things come out and they create the GT wing. So it's a giant wing. So for the downforce, it's there. And also then another thing, when this opens up, that's where your charger port is. It's hidden under this. So trying to keep things away from the body, so there's less part lines, the better. And as we move around the side of the car, you'll notice there's no door handles on it. The idea is, like, if you own it, only kind of you know. So the door openings mechanism of this will be it's a slide touch sensor in the B color. You swipe somewhere here, where we kind of have a little indication on some of the show cars to show people, and the door pops.
Wow.
And then obviously you have the beautiful butterfly style doors.
And I love how you guys also have the same design language on the interior as well. Is that steering wheel going to come into the production car?
No, the final steering wheel that we're refining at the moment looks amazing. This is kind of like a race car steering wheel. You can test drive it, but the real one looks super striking. And the mirror caps on the side, I think the mirrors may have to get a little taller for basically depending on regulation for different regions of the vehicle. But
so are they different in different areas of the world?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, the optical viewpoint that you need to have, the mass of the mirror, needs to be different in different places.
Wow.
So in the Chinese region, or we have European region, or here. Like at the moment, you can have cameras in Europe. You can have them in China now, but you can't currently have them in America. So you almost have to package protect for both when you're doing it. But so you don't see any windshield wipers. The wipers are actually underneath this. This panel slides forward, and the windscreen wipers open butterfly. And then obviously when you're not using them, they close down the panel.
So this panel here slides forward.
Yeah.
And windshield wipers are hidden underneath.
They're actually in this, underneath. Yeah.
Is that just for aerodynamics, or is that just, hey, we want to put something really cool and unique on the car?
It's kind of twofold in a way, because the windscreen wipers on cars do kind of cause a bit of turbulence and flow. Obviously, different cars are different, all of them are. And also, it's a very unique one line going around the car. We really wanted to emphasize the cleanliness of that line. And also, when you come around the car, you'll notice there's no window seal, obvious window seal. It's like the hidden window seal that you're starting to see now on some high-end products. So you want to have like minimal amount of things. Again, the luxury of it is not adding parts; it's like removing them. So, and then obviously the creme de la creme of it all is the nod to the new pop-up headlamps. I'm not sure if you've seen the videos of this online. Is that these headlamps, when you turn them on, this panel will set back tuck in and slide under the hood, so to show you the headlamps. So it's kind of a bit of a nod to the old classic
Exactly,
headlamps,
exactly.
and I think everyone who's
But
seen
it's
it work,
more aerodynamic because they're not sticking out like a parachute.
exactly, and it doesn't cause any kind of regulation harm then with crash testing. We've tried to hide away a lot of those nice little elements, so like it's more like concealed where they're not being used, and then they are seen when where they need to be. Well, the numbers at the moment is currently going to be two options. It's going to be a rear-wheel drive and an all-wheel drive. The first vehicle out will be the rear-wheel drive, but the four-wheel drive will be producing over 1,000 horsepower, and the 0 to 60 will be under 3 seconds. That's probably seems to be the entry level these days for most cars.
Right.
So, yeah, we're aiming to have this vehicle out into customers' hands probably like towards the mid to end of 2026, and also see the car next to it, the GS-Era. So that's the first full electric version of that as well. So that's the kind of the upgraded one, which steps up from what was a Rivero before. So once again, you can see some of the styling language already getting some influence from the KAVEYA, and the next vehicles will come out with, you'll start seeing a very obvious family look to the bodywork.
Is FISKER and Karma two separate companies now?
They are completely two.
They're completely
They
two.
don't have anything to do with each other, not in any shape or form.
Because there was the FISKER Karma
That's right.
years ago that kind of looked like that.
Yeah.
So what's the backstory behind that? Where did
It's,
that car come from, and how are they two separate companies now?
It's a great question. I'm glad you asked, actually, because I think some people don't quite know that. And
It's
I totally
confusing,
understand.
mate.
Yeah, you're right. So many moons ago, it was a company called FISKER, and they produced vehicles, and that company went bankrupt. And then our current owners, Karma, bought the intellectual property in that company and rebranded the company, and happened to call then the company Karma. So it actually was before FISKER Karma was a model,
Right.
And then the name Karma became the name of the company. Very different, and again, we have nothing to do with that company whatsoever.
Wow.
So you see, this is our North Star, this is our hurrah vehicle that really captures everything we want to do with the brand. And then, you know, with the new take on the kind of Rivero, which is the GS-Era, you'll see it's taking that form language in. Other products from now until, you know, the end of you will see other products. I think I probably can say that at the moment. I would love to be able to tell you anything, but there's some really exciting stuff coming.
That's very cool.
And it will take almost, take the extremity of this and even more.
Wow.
So I think by the next couple of years, you'll see a really strong portfolio of very clear direction that the brand is going.
Can we expect to see some of these design cues in the newer cars coming out?
Very much so. I mean, this will be going into production, as well as then as the other cars that we're doing. You will see a lot of cues being taken from this.
And you said this is about 2026 is when it should hit the roads.
Exactly. And a great question what you asked, will we see cues? What you'll notice on this car, if I walk you around, when the lights are on, when you come down low, you know like a crosshair on a target?
Yes.
You'll notice there's a light up here, a light there, and the horizontal one here. So in the nighttime, you're driving along, you'll see a perfect cross of like a target coming, and the same with the rear. If you look at the rear,
Really? It's the same
a
as the
nice
back?
little detail. If you look at the back, you'll see two red lights like that and two red like that. So when you're driving behind and you brake, you'll see this really dynamic, almost like what we call a down the road graphic. So like, at the moment you see a BMW coming, you see a Kia.
Yeah.
But now for this, you'll see like the graphic for us is now our down the road graphic.
Wow.
So that's something that we really are going to push forward in
That's
our
cool.
future products. We couldn't touch the lights too much on this one, but you'll notice a marking on the hood. On that one I can show you in a second, but the future product's really playing up that kind of idea of like a definitive cross on it. So
Wow.
yeah.
So does the Karma kind of meet in the middle? The Karma logo? Does it meet in the middle of it?
It's slightly higher
Okay.
than it, but it's a great point. But at the back of the car, maybe on the future ones, some of them will kind of light it in the
That's
middle,
really cool.
in the middle,
It's like a
but-
crosshair. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
so I'm not sure if you guys are going to be here tonight. I know there's an event tonight. I'm not sure how dark it's going to be, but we'll have the lights on, so you'll kind of maybe be able to see it. Like nighttime, yeah, I'm a bit higher here, but you can see the kind of like the cross lights that on it. Wow.
So this is your signature. So in 2026 at nighttime, if I see these lights,
You're like
that's how I'm
That's a
going to
Karma.
know.
Yeah. You'll notice that a
Wow.
lot of the branding you'll see on the website now as well is playing up those little target things. Some of the other nice features is like when we've got lights on the doors, so when the doors open and up,
Oh, wow.
you can see.
That is so cool.
So it kind of shines a light.
That is so cool.
And that's just
So
that light right
yeah,
there.
that's it. That light when it turns on. Wow. So we've got a rear view of this shot.
So you have this badge right here, Prototype 01, and that looks like those are coordinates, no?
They are.
What are those coordinates?
Just have to have a look them up to see where it takes you.
Oh.
You go have a look. We kind of left a lot of little Easter eggs around the car.
Oh, I love that.
If you open up the hood, there's a series of other kind of little markers.
These wheels are huge. How big are they?
These are actually only 21s.
Really? They look so
I think
big.
we did a great job in finding the balance of the size of the wheel, to the tire, to the gap, to the fender. That's how we're doing the car design. It's that's the kind of the perfect ratio we're trying to get it. But you'll notice that we've covered the lug nuts. So you'll notice on some of our future vehicles, we're trying to go for a 6-spoke wheel.
Okay.
And so that covers the lug nuts. So it also gives the idea of what you just saw was the fact that it gives a lot more length. Your spoke is reading a lot longer.
I see.
So now it feels longer. Because otherwise, if you have your bolt and it cut through there,
then it would only be that much
shorter. And
Wow.
I think
Good point.
the technicality in the lines as well to show craftsmanship, because it takes a lot more machining to get it.
Right.
And these wheels are obviously designed more for aerodynamics as well, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they both. I mean, structural rigidity first for safety, but also, iconic design-wise, we want to make sure all our wheels going forward. If you look at the other one, it's almost an inverse of this one. You've got thin silver inside, but with a black inside. So, like, we're trying to get a good theme. So yeah, it's like a second and third read. So you everything has a little bit of a nod. To each other on it.
So I looked up the coordinates.
If that's the coordinate you put in from that won't be the headquarters of the owners of the company.
Oh wow.
It's a little bit of a nod. Even like when we go into production with it, is to have nice little details which are customized to the owners.
So you guys are going big on the customization.
Yeah, very big, but it's one of those things. Sometimes too many options could be bad.
Right.
What we are planning to do is like first edition color palettes that we feel really strongly that really complement the outside of the car with the inside of the car. So we're very confident about those. But then you also have the ability then to a different program, within Karma to pretty much the world's, you're open to do whatever you want.
Wow.
So. But we would like to have a chance to curate it with each owner to understand their lifestyle, understand how they're going to use the vehicle, and what materials they like, and with all the full vegan options of leathers and things like that. We really want to understand what they stand for, and then try to curate it for them.
Where does the actual battery sit in this car?
Well, one thing that's so unique about the the Karma package, which is a bit like what's in Giacera and same in Rivero, is the batteries currently are running down the tunnel.
So
and
right here.
Yep, running down the tunnel, stacked, and then we actually have the pack then behind the seats as well. It's just like a T shape.
Because it's the all-wheel drive model.
Yeah, because it's all-wheel drive.
So a rear-wheel drive model will only have the center battery?
No, it'll actually have the full battery as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so we managed to package and protect for both situations.
Cool.
So is that you're able to get the H point or your hip down in the car. Because a lot of cars these days, you'll notice that the batteries are in the floor. So therefore, there's always a set height you have to start from. But this, we managed to get everybody so far down because the batteries are in the middle. You're not sitting on them.
Interesting. And you're also keeping the center of gravity because they're here instead of the front of the car.
Exactly.
This is a beautiful cockpit.
It's very clean, simple. And so the idea is when we go, you're driving, you don't have to see all these huge screens all the time. Like, there's a lot of blue light off screens these days. So even on the more production-based interior that we'll be showing later this year, you'll see even more amazing things hidden as well.
And I like how you guys even include the air vents up here as well. So you just have this thin little panel up here. I assume that this is one of your gauges.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And then you just have your touchscreen. And then everything else is pretty simple. And you said there's going to be a beautiful steering wheel in here as well.
Yeah, the steering is it's so striking. I think we were really pleased when we came up with that.
Wow. And is this going to make it to production as well? This is just a door pull?
Yeah, well, this interior was very themic about kind of, if you look, if I close this door for you 1 second, you'll see a diagonal line kind of going down it. So you're sitting in a sort of a pod yourself, and it runs right behind you. So what that is kind of sort of then you'll have more armrests in the doors. So we're starting to kind of refine it now to change it. But the master theme of that kind of theme line is stayed where it is. But it's just got far more productionized now.
And I love how low it is, but it's so wide at the same time. It actually feels very spacious.
I know.
I was not expecting that.
Well, one main feedback actually we have from previous clients with the Rosero, that it feels maybe a little bit compact because the tunnel's quite high, right? So some people are a little bit, ooh, maybe it's a bit too intruding. So one thing we tried to do is the new glass roof allows us to have more head swing, so it feels a lot more airy, it's not so dark. We're going to shrink the size of the steering wheel just a hint, more than normal, so you feel like, okay, it's a bit more compact. We got then the armrest, we managed to push the armrest down from the current car a little bit, as well as then kind of thin up some of the pillar areas. So we try to pull everything that's close to you that makes you feel a little bit claustrophobic in a vehicle, and push all those elements away from you. And I think we managed to, all those little kind of bits of moving around made it feel a lot more spacious.
What's the material on the seats?
It's a special fabric.
They're not leather.
Like very NASA. It's got a nice kind of almost like a metallic.
It looks like polyurethane.
Yeah,
And
it's
they're
got,
comfortable too.
Yeah.
Are they?
I was expecting them to be very hard. This feels like a luxury seat.
Yeah.
And it hugs you very well.
Oh, wow.
Here as well. Most
Yeah,
cars just hug you down here. This hugs you up here.
And the newer proposed
Hugs you
seat
in.
is even more hugging as well.
So these aren't the final seats?
No, these are not the final seats.
Oh, wow.
The
Okay.
final seats are even better.
0-60, do you guys know yet?
It's sub 3.
Sub 3. What's the range?
At the moment,
It's not too important to me, but I know some people might care.
We're aiming to 250 plus.
That's really, wow. That's really good.
Well, if you see the new one, the final one, you're like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. You're like, okay, you get exactly the same theme, but refined.
Is that silver going to be offered as a real option?
You know what? That's a big debate at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's really cool.
Everyone has seen it. It's like there's a bit of a love or hate.
Yeah.
It's like epic or like oof, maybe a little bit too silver. But whenever we showed this car first of all in Vegas last year, that everyone was like, people like, where do I sign? Where do I give you money? So just those little details of like when you turn the car off, all the lights die down away. You don't know where things are. You don't know where the door handles are. It's like you know if you know, and I think that's what we really like about that kind of like almost understated, like quiet luxury or quiet wealth. And the rear wing is something that's it goes normal wing, and then you can see the end plates. This one's got it's another wing inside the wing, so it's got pistons that push it outwards.
Wow.
So I think the headlamps and everything. I think it's
That's so
and those are
cool.
little items, that I think instead of, should we say, what I've been calling personally like chrome luxury, where you can add lots of chrome trims and little details there, but we're trying to put maybe our luxury is in the functionalities of these items.
There's nothing else on the road right now that I think looks like this.
And I really appreciate you saying that. I think as a designer, the last thing you really want to hear online is like, it looks like something. It looks like you've got a front of this, a body side of that. I think everyone goes, 99% of the comments are like, wow, this is new.
Yeah, it's all new.
There's not many lines on it. We have to have part lines to get in the car and that, but if you'll notice that what we call one feature that we're going to try to push forward to other models is that there's a line that kind of blows out here, but see this line? It goes all the way around, and it's, when you look from a top view, it's almost an exact circle, so we call it the comet line. It's like a comet is coming into, you see it? It's like an arc. So it goes from one side of the car all the way around to the other side of the car. So the unique thing is almost like the cowl surfaces, they become the rear fender, and I think that there's so much surface movement around the car. It's usually like a body side, a top side, shoulder. So I think it's the movement of the surfaces.
Flows together.
Yeah.
Wow.
As I mentioned earlier on, for KAVEYA, for the first editions, we're probably going to spec out like 4 beautiful, what we feel are the great kind of packages.
Right, like
inside and
launch
outside.
specs. Okay.
But we have one of the most advanced painting systems at our factory. It is probably like 6 times bigger than this booth.
Really?
And the dipping system. So we have a very advanced painting system, so you can program it to almost paint whatever you'd like.
Interesting.
So, as you said, through certain like Karma Reserve programs, you'll be able to spec the color you want.
Really?
So the options are endless. Where you'll be able to kind of come in and sit with our CMF and the design team and kind of really spec it.
Like if I want this exact color for my shoes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think that's really important when you get to this price point.
Right.
To make sure you can kind of cater to that. That's what's interesting for us. It's kind of, I know there's people in this sector as well, who like, would I buy an EV? Right? It's always a bit like, because I like my V10 or something, but I think there's a lot of people who obviously do clearly have want for this, and we will be one of the first to be in that sector with this type of vehicle. There's no other, front engine proportion supercar EV vehicles.
That's great that you guys are getting your foot in the door very early, and you're doing it very well. Very, very well, I must say.
I think hopefully it's great to hear you say that. I think that's what we want to, we want to come with class,
sure.
and also make sure that people want to aspire to it.
I like what you said before. They're handsome. They're handsome cars. You're not trying to go super crazy or stand outist, but they're elegant and they're handsome. Like kind of like you said, like an Aston or something like that. They're very.
When I look at here, there's some amazing metal, right? Let's not, you've got the Lamborghinis and I also really do appreciate many different form languages, and I think that's great. Some form languages can have the tendency to date quickly.
Right, definitely.
Some can last longer, through time and everything.
Sure.
So I think this is the approach that we feel is great for our buyers and where we want to go. And I don't think it steps on anyone's toes. So it's unique.
Exactly.
And I think that's because otherwise it's like, oh, it looks a bit too Lamborghini, or it looks a little bit too Ferrari or McLaren and that. So.
And you have your own unique features too. The windshield wipers, the crosshairs with the lights meeting everything.
Yeah.
The hideaway lights. I mean, no one could come to you and say, hey, they took that from us, or hey, that's our feature.
I know. And
you guys are doing things outside the box. I think that's super, super cool.
We have a document internally actually, which we put together before. It's like what we call the, won't use the language, but it's the F-no list. As designers, you can sometimes fall back on some regular things that you would do, regular tricks.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And I think we're trying to be very strict about that.
Nice.
Some things you can't step away from every single one, but there's definitely a goal of as you're sketching, you're like, no. You're almost giving yourself, you're challenging yourself to do that a little bit differently.
What was the biggest hurdle that you guys faced when you were designing the car? Did you have trouble coming up with the Comet or making it work or something? What was the hardest task that you guys had to overcome when you were trying to get this right here?
I think the hardest task being a designer in our situation is also working with the engineers.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that was hard as in a bad hard. It was hard because they're trying to make this work.
Right.
And they want to make sure the driving dynamics are amazing. And then our team are like, I want it really low, I want to do this, I want to do that. So there was a big push of trying to be able to get the suspension in the right place to be able to get enough curve down into the bodywork, as opposed to your cabin, you're sitting in the fenders, you're not sitting on the fenders. So I think trying to get things low enough packaging in the vehicle so we can get that section across the car, and even on the rear fender, you'll notice that very few cars ever kind of go up and then go back down to the glass area. So it was trying to make sure
it accentuates the hips.
Yeah, so it's to get sections away. And always, the car has to take the people, making sure it was a sleek enough roofline, but enough room for you as well. So that's always a tricky balance.
So as like a 6'1", 6'2" person, you can sit in here comfortably.
Yeah, this is made for what we call a 95th percentile, which I think is a 6'2" ergonomic human.
Great.
So obviously everyone's torso is different. Like my legs may be shorter, a little taller, so you may sit in the seat a little bit differently. But we do have quite a bit of movement in the seat, up and down, forward and aft, telescopic on the steering wheel.
Great.
But yeah, this is made to take like a 6'2" person with head swing as well.
Wow, that's awesome. That's amazing. I love the entire glass roof. I didn't even notice that before, actually.
Very exciting to drive.
Yeah.
It's so quiet, but it's just the acceleration is just, it is very striking.
I'm excited to see for myself.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hope you can.
Yeah. These are definitely two very impressive vehicles.
We've made it yellow. We've made it blue, red, and everything. And you're like, oh, that's striking. Don't get me wrong. It can certainly be there.
I could definitely tell in like a blue or a yellow, that rear end is really, really going to stand out for sure. But in this color, it's really elegant and handsome.
And it's interesting because the rail on it can be body color as well. I think the
black makes it.
It seems a lot more.
Yeah, I love two-tone cars.
Yeah.
Nick, thank you so much. I appreciate it.